Good evening, everyone. I am Deanne Gallegos. I'm the Executive Director of the Silverton Chamber of Commerce and Visit Silverton.
I'm Sarah Moore. I'm the Grant and Sustainability Coordinator for Salon Development.
So this evening is Candidates Night. It's actually a task of the Silverton Standard. We're just hosts for the evening. And so first thing I would love to explain is how did we even come up with these 10 questions, right? And so we've been taking a poll around the community. People have emailed them in. Some of these questions are directly cut and paste from some excellent writers on questions. Otherwise, Sarah and I went through just actually today. We wanted to give everyone an opportunity today to really like what rose to the top of the community. And so we literally do a tally, this many on this topic, this many on that topic, take the essence of all the questions. How do we get what we feel that the community is trying to seek? And that is how the questions are designed. Because of wanting this to go smooth and efficient, we really did math. So we kind of took a point like, what's this question? Sometimes you get 2 minutes to answer. Sometimes you get 1 minute. So we will clearly express to you, this is a 1 minute answer. One of us will be asking, the other will have a timer, a really noisy timer. When that timer goes off, wrap it up. We're moving to the next. You don't have to use your whole time. You don't want in your head counting, where am I at, right? So answer it to your best of your ability. Obviously, we don't all know everything, right? And so just do the best job that you can. And we will manage moving this along and we will manage the timer. So for the audience to find out, okay, how do we even start to make this fair? So the only direction we gave these guys was 3 middle seats are for the mayor candidates, and then in the wings of the trustees, they pick their own seats. And then we put everyone's name. We had Gloria draw a name, Lindsay this evening. So we're going to start there. She will answer first, and then we move clockwise. And then we're going to move to then Jim answers the next one. So no one always answers first or answers last. That just keeps it fair and equitable. Other than that, I think we're going to jump into this unless any of you have any questions before we start.
I think just a clarifying question, none of us have seen any of these questions.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah. No, we didn't even know what they were until about 3 o'clock today. Because we wanted to give the community the utmost opportunity to submit topics and or direct questions. So no, as of right now, it literally is only Sarah and myself. And everyone is going to hear them all together, fire around at the same time. So I know this can be kind of an intense evening. Thank all of you for even stepping up to the plate to wanting to be a part of the amazing forward motion that the town of Silverton has been doing. And we are going to start with everyone gets a 2-minute introduction. That's your free time. Introduce yourself, your platform, whatever you want to say in that 2 minutes. And then we're going to go through 10 questions. Again, some are 2, some are 1. We're going to let you know before we start. And then we're going to give you a closing 1-minute statement. And again, depending on the math, we may roll over a little bit over 8. So starting first with Lindsay and getting the timer ready, we are going to give you 2 minutes to introduce yourself. Go.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I introduced myself a little bit in the Silverton Standard, which I'd encourage everyone to read. But I think the most important question here is why I want to run for the town. And it actually starts with a story about meeting a boy. And I actually moved up here to live with him. And as we started living together, I fell in love with him as much as I did with this place. There's something special about the people, the community, the recreation, the access that made me feel like I found a new home. And I wanted to get involved way ahead of time. And so I've only been here for a few years and I acknowledge that. And I'm just so ready to deep dive into this community. I have had a variety of professional experience working in government. I actually have a degree in communications, legal studies, economics, and government with a special program in politics, policy, and law. So I'm very familiar with government systems and how to run a functioning government and process. I really intend to bring all of that experience from my education, from my background, and actually helping towns transition their energy to renewable energy, and passing resolutions all around, New England and doing that. And want to bring forth, not necessarily like my ideas or like my opinions, but what is best serves the community through a variety of methods, which I mentioned in the standard. I think executing the master plan is obviously number one. We put an incredible amount of work into that document and it is very well thought out. So how do we get to that place? And part of that is creating a well-run and efficient process here in this room among the members and among town staff to make that plan happen. It also allows for community input in that process. And, you know, the additional protection and preservation of this town, I think we'll see a lot of changes happen.
2 minutes.
Great.
All right, Mr. Harper.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out this evening. 4 years ago, I was elected to represent town of Silverton, not just a part of town, but the entire of our community. Uniting everyone through community engagement, through team building, we were able to introduce and put forth this master plan, and through absolute community engagement through each and every one of you, we were able to complete this. Over the past 4 years, myself and our board of trustees have made great strides, making this process transparent, efficient, but most of all, creating an atmosphere that is positive for growth. And it is positive for each and every one of you to come to town hall, to inject your thoughts and your feelings and being a part of the process. Bringing everyone together, transparency, team building. That's what this board has been about. That's what I've been about for the past 4 years. I apologize. That's all I'm going to say for right now. Thank you.
All right. Amy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Gardner, and I moved to town in 2017 after finishing college. And the original draw was, of course, the mountains and the sole beauty of Southwest Colorado. But what has kept me here for the past 6.5 years is the community. Growing up on the East Coast in a large town, I never really knew my neighbors. Here, within the first few weeks, I felt immediately welcomed. I got to meet so many different people with varying stories, and I think that's what makes this town special. Every single voice matters, and everyone has an impact. Over the years, I have worked in a variety of settings within town that gives me diverse perspective. Currently, I serve as the office manager and tobacco prevention and cessation coordinator for San Juan County Public Health. I also assist the sheriff's department once a week processing cases. I think my work with public health over the past 3.5 years has prepared me for town board. I regularly work with grants, budgets, I interface and serve our community daily, and I have been through the process of proposing and passing an ordinance with the board last year, which gives me some insight on the procedures within town. I value community health and wellness, affordable housing, sustainable and responsible growth, and promotion of recreation and events. If elected, I promise to be open, to listen, to help create a safe space for hard topics and opposing viewpoints. And I promise to do my best every day to make decisions for our town and community members first. I love Silverton. I got married here at Kendall this September and look forward to setting roots here. Silverton is my home, and I am so proud to be part of this amazing community. I appreciate your time, and thank you.
Wayne.
Well, my name's Wayne Barger and I run Animus Towing. And I moved here 5 years ago. I fell in love with the town just because of the hospitality. It was very welcoming. We came here on a Thanksgiving, and to Brown Bear, as y'all might know, they have a Thanksgiving dinner. We came in hungry, of course, and they were more than welcoming. Come on in, grab a plate, and I just love that small town feel. And I just want to give back the community that has given to me since then.
Justin.
Okay, I'm Justin Swartz, coming up on 4 years here. Probably been pretty known for being outspoken. I've spent a lot of time with various different, ideals of people in town. I've always been more than happy to listen. I've learned a lot. Initially moved up here to mine and, well, the mines have closed. I would like to find ways to get more interest groups together and more volunteer groups to get them more involved with a lot of the things that interest them and probably take some of the financial load off the town and give them something positive to do that they're passionate about. I look forward to doing more with the community, being a bigger part of it.
Dana?
My name is Dana Kranker. I live here in town with my husband and my 3 boys who are at Silverton School. I just really want to thank all of the people sitting at this table, the people in the audience. I think this is what makes this community really special and why I'm so excited to be here. All of us care about this community. Every single one of the people sitting at this table, all of you in the audience care about this special and unique place. That's why we're here. As Jim mentioned, I think the community shared pretty clear priorities in the master plan process, which the town adopted in September of 22. And I think the town staff and the current board have really been working diligently to try to make the aspects of that plan come to fruition for our community members. I think we're just getting started, but we have made some really important progress around housing, infrastructure planning, strategic investments, planning for growth and what that looks like, strengthening our community and protecting our natural resources. I still think we have a lot of work to do. And there's colleagues here at the table, there's community members out there in the audience that are ready to do that work. I am very familiar with the issues that the town board has been facing, with the projects that staff has been working on, and I'm ready to keep doing the hard work. I'm very dedicated to seeing this work come through to completion. My husband and I were joking today, I spent so many hours on town work that it's almost like a full-time job. I really hope I've demonstrated my commitment to the town board over the last 2 years. If anybody wants to know my opinions, my thought process, how I work through things, you can watch countless hours of meetings. I think that I bring an ability to show that I'm available, thoughtful, prepared, and ready to tackle the big issues that this community is facing and the issues that are really important to you. I would be honored to serve as your mayor and provide that leadership into the future as we work on these things together.
Caitlin? So my name is Caitlin Bird-Sturdivant. I live here with my son and my daughter. And then I actually have, I have roots here. My family's from here. My grandpa worked in the mines along with his brother. I really have a love for Silverton. I love this place. I want to see it grow and I want to see it grow. I want to help it grow. Sorry. I don't have a lot of experience with being a mayor, but I'm willing to learn and I have a true love for this town and I want to give my all for this town. So I want to roll up my sleeves and work really hard for it.
Carl?
Well, thanks for coming out, everybody. I just am so excited to see so many folks here. My name is Carl Schnaker. I work at the public school here in town. I do a variety of things, mostly middle and high school. And basically, I'm running for town board because I'm really excited about the future of this community. I moved up here in 2020. I've been coming here since I was a child, but I finally made the dream happen. And this is a place that I want to be for a very long time. And I want to make sure that this continues to be a place that I want to be and continues to be a place that's going to be really good for the kids that I teach at the school, for everybody in the community. What's really important to me is investing in our future. I think that it's really easy to get stuck in the short-term priorities, and those are really important. But I think the work that the board's been doing, working towards this master plan and taking a long view is really, really important. I think it does a disservice to the community to come into a role like this with too much of an agenda. And I'm really excited if you'd do me the pleasure of electing me into office. I'd be super excited to listen. And my top priority is making investments, but I can't say exactly what those will be. I think it's just really, really important that we're working together and making this community a great place to live.
Don?
Hi, folks. My name's Ron Wakefield. I'm running for one of the town trustee positions. A little bit about me. I've got a bachelor's of science degree from Kansas State University. And I moved to Durango about 40 years ago to work for a public utility company. While I was there, I had a wide variety of positions and spent quite a bit of time in management. When I retired, my wife, Maria, came to her hometown, which is here in Silverton. Her dad was a miner back in the 40s. They've had a home here, I think, since the 60s. So we spent a lot of time up here on weekends and stuff while we lived in Durango. We've been residents full-time for the last 7 years, and I know many of you because I work part-time at the hardware store. I don't have a specific agenda like a lot of people that run for office, but things we need to do here in town, I believe, is continue to work on affordable housing. While we're adding houses here, we also need to look at the infrastructure that we have. The infrastructure is old. We also need to look at the growth for the infrastructure. While we're doing all this, we need to be concerned with what's costing to do this to the taxpayers. And many people that live here say the taxes really don't affect me because I don't own a home, but they do indirectly because they affect your rents and the staples purchase here. We need to find more sources of revenue for the town. Examples of that would be, we had the bank slalom event last weekend, ski joring the weekend before that, and 4th of July celebration. These activities not only help our tax revenues, but they support our local businesses. I feel my experiences with budgets, utilities, and retail sales make me a good candidate for the position of town trustee. And I would very much appreciate your vote. Thanks.
Liz?
All right, hi, my name is Liv Chella Edwards. I was lucky enough to be appointed to the board last year, so I'm coming up on almost a year on the board. I've lived here for about 4 years. I work as a hardware engineer and I'm studying electrical engineering. Why do I want to be on the board? Well, a lot of people in town have asked me to run. They asked me to run the first time for the appointment, and they've asked me to run again. And this is really a stretch for me as a person. This is very far outside of my comfort zone. But if people really want me to do it, I will offer my services up again. I currently do a lot of volunteering around town. I run the tech club at the school. I'm working on the software for KSJC, the radio station. I'm on the board of ATG and have been in almost every production since I moved here in 2020. And I am a huge believer in community and consensus governance. I really view being on the board as an opportunity to get to talk to people in town and hear what their concerns are and try to bring that to this position. That's pretty much it. If you guys want me to be on the board again, great. I'm really fortunate to get to be a member of this community, and I really do love living here.
All right, so we'll start moving on to community questions. Obviously, by the packed room, this is a really important election to all of us, right? And so this very first question is a 2-minute question. Then we're going to a 1, a 2, a 2. So we're always going to let you know, but this one is a 2-minute. We want to give you enough time. You don't have to take it all. Your nerves are shook out and we're ready to go. So I'm going to do the same thing. I want to come up here and just kind of project in the microphone, but because we have such a packed room, I'm going to step back and we're going to do the same thing. Just call your name. You guys are doing great. First question in 2 minutes. Describe your involvement with the master plan. Define what you see as current priorities of the community and the town board around that. And if you need me to say that again, because you're like, man, she said that 8 people ago, I'll repeat it. But describe the involvement with the master plan. Find what you see as the current priorities of the community and the board around that. Jim Harper.
Thank you. Several years ago, when we embarked in this community study and set forth to put together the opinions that made up the master plan for the future of the town of Silverton, we took everyone's thoughts and feelings into consideration. It's this board's job to execute each and every one of those for the town. and prioritize them for what is immediate, what we need to do immediately in order to see this through. And I think we've done a good job. And I know that we're going to continue that job going forward. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, sorry. So as the master plan goes, I don't have too much experience with the involvement besides, going to some events with the Compass Project and giving my input as a community member. But I do think from the master plan, one of the number one priorities right now is housing. Besides supporting staff, I do think it's the number one priority. I believe this is the missing puzzle piece for a lot of current issues in town. Economy, workforce, housing, and businesses. And San Juan Development is doing an amazing job with the Anvil affordable housing. And I think along with that, creating more housing within town can help balance the market, leading to more affordability across the board, which can lead to more, workforce housing and more long-term housing, which I believe will ultimately help, businesses thrive in the long run. I also love the idea of finding ways as a board and supporting staff to help find incentives for long-term rentals. Also, if there's ways that we can, again, look into grants for restoration of current homes that maybe need a ton of work that are currently vacant to ultimately be rented long-term or sold. Wayne.
I really have no involvement in the master plan at this time. I would love to. But what I would like to see is start on the small things first, such as when you come into town, what's the first thing you see? You see a septic. I'd like to see us move forward in planting some trees around that, beautifying the town. Make the town more inviting for other people that are just passing through. I have a shop down there at the moment that I see so many cars and so many people get to the intersection, look, and then kind of move on. I'd like to see something that's more inviting to town. Do a lot of the small things first, and then the bigger things will come a lot easier, I believe.
I've read over quite a bit of it. I think that my biggest concern is what we actually accept as affordable housing, what the number on that is. Everything I've heard is I don't think it's affordable at all for most of the people. And it upsets lots of people that we don't have a really realistic number on that. Yeah, I think utilizing a lot of the properties that we have available, we need to find a better way to do that. And that's my biggest concern, and my biggest topic is, finding a line that everyone can agree on instead of always, we think we have something and then when it's finally expressed, it's not at all what anyone else would consider feasible. But that's pretty much it.
Want to read the question one more time now that we're in the middle? Thank you.
Describe your involvement with the master plan and define what you see as the current priorities of the community and town board around that.
Thanks, Dan. So when we moved here around the time that the master plan was getting talked about, there were a lot of workshops, there were a lot of sessions, and I was really excited. My background is anthropology, which involves understanding people and people's culture and their background and how we think and how we work. And so I was really excited to see this project happening and to just hear so many different perspectives with a lot of shared values. And I think that's what I think is really meaningful about the master plan process and the actual document thing that came out of it is that we were at a time when we would hear how we had a lot of disagreements and things we didn't agree on and we're so divided. And yet when it really came down to it, there were a lot of things that we could agree on around our shared values. And so I think the town board has really taken that master plan over the last 1.5 to 2 years and focused on the top priorities and put staff time and dollars toward big projects. And a bunch of my colleagues here mentioned it, but to me, housing is the most critical thing. If we don't have places to house our essential workers, our teachers, our paramedics, our families, our local business owners, we lose the soul of this community. If I look around at all of us and say none of us could afford to live here in 5 years, that's a problem. That's a crisis. And that to me sticks out as one of the most important things we need to work on. We've been working on it. The town isn't done working on it, but we've made really big investments. We've kind of chipped away at a slow and steady pace, taking on big projects like purchasing the Zanoni parcel and then working on the environmental cleanup to get it ready for development. We've worked closely with C1 Development Association and the newly established Housing Authority to work on big projects in Annville that could include rental apartments, duplex units, for sale, single family homes, and all of these things with different components of affordability. We're also working on the code rewrite, and that's a huge part of the master plan. We have this great idealistic plan, and then we have to turn it into something that's actually good. And so I think when it comes to the master plan, housing
2 minutes.
clearly been the priority.
So I can't wait to get involved with the master plan. I think it's a great idea. I think it's fantastic. I think that a big priority minus housing is to improve events that already exist. Snowscapes, skijoring, like more advertising for that. Make this town really cool, make people want to be like, I want to go to that town. I think that's really cool. And I think that's a really good idea. I think that make it really just a neat town. And I think that that's really neat, along with housing, like they said. But, start slow, start little and just work your way up. And I think that's a really good plan.
Carl.
Yeah, I've been, or I was, involved with the Compass Project through community builders with some of the public input sessions. And I think it's like Dana mentioned, really cool to see actually how much consensus there is around some of these really fundamental things. I think it's awesome that everybody's brought up affordable housing because that's certainly my top priority. I think it's something that we just can't ignore. That being said, because it's been spoken on in depth, I'd like to just emphasize a different element of future investment, which is recreation infrastructure. I think our economy is now, and especially into the future, it's really based around bringing people to town to enjoy this place. And seeing things like the Bakers Park Mountain Bike Trail project makes me super excited. As a resident, it makes me excited to tell my friends, hey, you should come visit in the summer and come ride these mountain bike trails. And I think that's really the fuel for the economy here in Silverton. And if we want to see our town continue to thrive, we need to invest in housing so people can live here. And those opportunities, they're going to bring jobs, they're going to bring tourism. And we need to do it in a sustainable and managed way. But that's really important to me. And I'm super excited to work on those priorities.
Ron.
Well, if any of you want to know what the Compass Master Plan looks like, this is it. And it's really good reading. You would enjoy this in the evening. It's kind of morphed into the Silverton and Land Use Code, which is another great reader. I like to do that in the evening. But anyway, when we did this, involved in a lot of meetings throughout town. The good thing about it is finally we have a vision for the town. We have a direction where we're headed. Things we want to see happen, things we want done. The big thing in this to me is, of course, responsible growth, housing, different housing choices for people and housing infill. Again, we need to worry about the infrastructure when we add all these homes to the area. And where am I? It's just a great vision for the town. A couple of examples they had in the master plan. In 2016, the average cost of a house was $220,000. In 2022, that cost came up to $310,000, and we know it's more than that now. We really need to work on affordable housing. We're going to have to do that with grants, other sources. If we don't do that, it's going to price all of us out of town. And everybody here obviously cares about this community. So we need to do the best we can to make things affordable for those that live here.
Liv.
So I got to be involved when I moved here with the public input sessions from community builders. And I was also really impressed with the consensus that we came out of those sessions with. People value resilience, especially in Silverton. They have long-term vision. They care about the environment that they're living in. And they care about each other. So the way I see it, housing is an important issue, but so is the infrastructure and considering long-term growth and what long-term sustainable growth looks like. And what a year-round economy that isn't just dependent on tourism could look like up here, particularly as the world changes around us and we remain this small, geographically constrained town.
I actually want to toot our own horn for a minute, and I had this great conversation with a young woman who's a planner in Gunnison, and she was on the community builders team. And she said our town was like something special to work with. And now I think we're sometimes known as like a New York Times article that comes out about us, how we're all divided. But in reality, we're actually known for a town that comes together and finds creative solutions and puts together an incredible master plan. And I just want to acknowledge that that is an incredible community to be a part of, as we've all sort of said here, and that we've actually already accomplished a ton in the master plan, thanks to staff and Gloria. So I want to call that out, that we're making really good progress here. Alongside housing, it all comes down to code. I don't know if anyone has read this 182-page document. It's a beast, and it's a lot. And I think that's one of the elements of the master plan I'm interested in thinking about is there's places where they want community input. Who's actually going to give that community input? Are all of you going to give that community input? Because it's a big document with a lot of code, and that's just the first part of it. So how can we help communicate the most important issues, how we're going to develop a town, what that's going to look like to the community for input, so we can continue on this really incredible town theory of participation in creating incredible plans for us to move forward.
Right. That, and this is a quick one. We're going to start with Amy. What do you think your role as potential mayor or a trustee is in moving forward the Compass project and master plan?
I think the biggest role is being a supporting role, supporting staff, supporting town, supporting the community, and making sure when we're up here talking, we're not just thinking about our own agendas. We've done the research, we've done the community input, and making sure we're listening to all sides, being a reflective listener, and ensuring we're doing the best we can for the community and no one else.
What was the question again, please?
What do you think your role as either a mayor or potential trustee is in moving forward the Compass project and master plan?
I think our role is to take those ideas and opinions from the community and move forward with that. Not everybody has good ideas, but we can talk it out and become a great idea and just move forward and do that.
With mine would be to get with as many people as possible, get as many opinions as I could possibly get about how everyone feels about certain subjects. And at the same time, try to find a way to cut costs, but also put more money back into the community instead of exporting so much work and so much capital from the town into other towns, and try and keep it home.
Dana.
So I think of two words. The first is honoring. So honoring the input and the engagement that you all did originally in the master plan. Let's not take that for granted and kind of keep doing more info sessions all the time. So let's honor what's already been said and established and the consensus we've gotten to. And then the second piece is listening. And so continuing to listen to you about how that actually plays out. And so being accessible as a board member to hear what the community says, because really we're here to listen to you and then to give direction to staff. It's not staff's agenda. It's not the town board's agenda. It's really the community's agenda. And so we look to you to inform us, to educate us. I think something that I can bring is to really be prepared and informed on the issues that we face. It takes a lot of nitty-gritty research, understanding conversations with the community, understanding the deep topic, whether that's the 182 land use code or the latest document that we're looking at. So being informed, but first of all, honoring your previous commitment and engagement and listening to what you want to see for the future.
Okay. I think that my role would be to support and to be a sounding board for the town. I'm not in this for myself. I'm in this to help the community, and I want the community to come to me if they need anything or if they have ideas. I want to be that person for the community. And I want to continue to grow and I want to help it grow. And that includes the master plan and helping the master plan be in place and help that.
Carl.
Yeah, I think as Ron and Lindsay both mentioned, this is a lot of work that's already been done, and some of it's kind of dense and difficult to parse, and everybody has little pieces that they care about. I'd be willing to bet that most of the people in this room have a pretty good idea of what's in the master plan. That's not true of everybody in the community. And I think it's super important for our town government, that's the trustees, the mayor, and the staff of the town, to really focus on communicating with people. We really want to solicit input. That's super important. That's the core of this process, but that needs to be informed and people need to know what's on the table. So I think that would be the most important role for myself, would be to really take on the role of being a communicator and sharing what we're really working on, trying to focus on transparency and doing that in a way that reaches everybody, not just the people who show up to meetings.
Ron.
If I were elected, my job is to work for you. I'm a steward of the town. I've been out to talk to many of you to get your opinions, ideas, thoughts on different things that happen with these plans. If I'm elected, I'll continue to do that. I've got the time to go around and visit with you, get your opinion, get your input, get your ideas. And hopefully we can all move forward in a better direction.
Liv.
I really see this position as the role of a public servant, and I think there is a duty that comes with that to listening across the aisle. I think that's really important, and practicing radical listening, like listening without judgment, and then acting as a sort of function with all of these inputs to achieve synthesis and making informed and educated decisions that represent the community, and doing confidence while maintaining integrity in actions. And that includes admitting when I don't know and when I can help you find the answer and when I can point you to someone who would know, and admitting when I'm wrong.
Lindsay.
I think half of it, so there's kind of two parts. There's one part of a facilitator, which is able to have discussions, understand opinions within the community, within the board, within actually experts who, write these documents up, and being able to actually understand why we made a good decision or why we're having this type of conversation. There's also the second part of being able to actually legislate these issues, which is incredibly complicated, as the current board members know. So there's two essential roles as the town trustee, which sometimes can be clashing, but usually we can find a way to figure out how to make sure we facilitate a good conversation while also being able to make the most effective decision for the entire town possible.
Jim.
I thank you. The role of a trustee with regards to the master plan. It's three things. It's not only listening, but it's hearing what the community wants, hearing what the community needs, providing support to the effort, meaning putting in the hard work, rolling your sleeves up and grinding away at it, providing that support, providing the wherewithal for the staff, for the team, because this is a team effort. And thirdly, and most importantly, execute the plan. Execute the plan that was brought to us by the people. Listen to everyone's voice, listen to the people's voice, and execute the plan. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna do another 2-minute question and we're gonna start with Wayne. And again, I know as we start moving along, if anyone wants me to ask or we've kind of lost of what the question is, just please re-ask and I'll say it at any time. So question 3. What do you think the opportunities in our local economy are? And what are some of your ideas to support local businesses and economy?
It's a good one. I think reaching out to those businesses and seeing what their needs are, what's their downfalls, and how we can put our ideas together and move forward. I think that's vital to any community and businesses.
Justin.
Community businesses, well, I think, right off the bat, I know that we outsource a lot of work, construction wise. We don't find a way to make it more public. Big jobs that come up, make it more public to the locals that they are available and, inform them so they have an opportunity to put in their word or put in their bids on these jobs instead of, just jumping right into sending it out of town. So there's a lot of people that love to get involved with the projects that we do have and, have the opportunity to do something on their own part and, keep as much funding here local. I think that's what I would love to try and do.
Dana.
Thank you. Our local businesses are really essential, I think, for supporting both our visitors and our visitor experience and sustaining our local residents. We need these local entities to exist to support us. I'm really grateful for the businesses, the grocery store, the hardware store, the coffee shops, the restaurants. They try hard to stay open year round, even though they're sometimes operating at a loss. I know that's a tricky business model. I've talked with a variety of business owners and being on the chamber board, and I think as we think about sustainability, that's what really comes to mind for me, and resiliency. We're so small, right? We're 600 year-round residents, maybe on a good day. And I talked to some folks that have been here in this community for a while, and they talk about the year-round businesses that used to be open and the pharmacy we used to have and the doctor that used to be here. And when we're talking about those scenarios, it often involves more year-round residents. And so for me, a key to kind of a sustainable year-round economy is responsible growth. And so finding ways that we can have more kids in that school, more families living in our community, more folks contributing, because then we can support things like a barber, more options at our grocery stores so they don't feel so squeezed. I just think there are more options when we have a few more people. And the times that I've heard nostalgically referred to involved kind of a broader set of community. I also think the town has had a great role. It's been brought up before in supporting some of our local events, and especially those events that target both locals and our visitors. And those have been really successful. They bring a great sense of community. Our family participates in a lot of them. We're typically there. So whether that's ski joring or snowscape, whether that's the 4th of July festivities or summer sounds, those are things that I think all bring us together and do support our local economy. And I think finding ways to continue to support recreation and options for our locals and that attract other people to come here and spend money. So I think we need diversity and resilience.
Caitlin.
So I think that we need to start, we need to ask the local businesses how we can support them. I think that's a really big thing. I think that we need to bring more people in, whether it be with events that we have an advertising events more, so people can come and visit the local, with the local businesses, we'll get more money. More business. We need to be successful with our ideas, sorry. We need to be successful with our ideas for the local businesses. We need to just support them in any way. We need anything that they need. I think that we need to focus on them though. I think we need to do that.
Carl.
Yeah, when I think about a thriving Silverton economy, I kind of think about diversified and year-round. And Dana did such a good job of explaining why those things are important. But I think it's super crucial that we continue to make this a great place to live. I think that can't be overstated. All of these issues are so connected together. And if businesses don't have employees, they can't operate their business. Or if they're needing to pay, more than they can afford because housing is so expensive, for example. So I think all of this is super interconnected. And yes, we should definitely pursue a diversified economy, but I also do think that recreation and tourism is really the core of what we have going for us. That's what makes Silverton unique. There are so many small towns around this country, but none of them are Silverton except for this one. And I think we need to focus on what makes us special. And I think that we need to really support the businesses that exist currently, in addition to supporting the growth into the future.
Ron,
As far as helping the businesses out, if I recall, the town has a thing where they tried to get bids from local businesses, and if we're within 10% of what other companies have, we're supposed to buy local. I'm not sure we're doing that in every instance. Maybe that's one thing we could look at that would help jumpstart a few businesses here in town this time of year. The other thing is, for businesses to grow, you've got to have people. And the only way you're going to get people here is to have them either live here or have activities for them to come here on weekends and spend money. We also need to look at getting people here during the shoulder seasons. Spring and fall, we've got an opening now for a person on the town that runs activities. I'm not sure what the title is for that. But we get somebody in here and we get more people in, like for the bank slalom we had, the ski joring, 4th of July, even had dog sled races last weekend. We get more people to come in, they'll spend time in town, spend money, and that'll help the local economy, one, through taxes, and it'll help the business owner as well.
Supporting local businesses, as I see it, is a really multifaceted problem. As others have said, there's a lot of interconnected moving parts like affordable housing, a diversified economy, bringing people into town for different events. And I think there are two things we can do. One, for already existing businesses, I think we do need to listen and achieve compromises where we can. I don't think that rejecting any one group wholesale is a good idea in the long term. But I understand that we want to have some sort of balance between quality of life and a thriving, diversified economy. And then for encouraging new businesses or ones that are just starting, I think we really want to carve out different opportunities for people to see and experience those businesses. Like I really love the art walks during the summer. I think that's a really creative way to get people kind of walking the streets and seeing the galleries. So in short, a more sustainable population with sustainable growth, but also just getting more people into town.
Lindsay.
I think there's a lot of true things that have been said that I don't necessarily need to repeat, but I just want to add like a little special spice of there's kind of an element of we need more money in town. Like that includes people, but like starting a business is expensive. And how do you generate that type of, baseline income or savings and then take out a loan to start a business? It's a lot of process. So there's some education, there's a money element. And I think a lot of times money spent here leaves town and is kind of went to other places where if instead of what if we invested in more circular economy, if having businesses stay here, money stays here, we can generate wealth here to make sure people stay here and can afford to live here. And none of us have to like be worried about where we're getting our food from. So it's not just like building housing or like supporting local businesses. It's building a economy that is resilient and where all of us have the opportunity to build wealth here. So it's a big question. I'd also say like, there's a lot of really creative people in town and partnerships with other places locally, like Holly's starting the consignment store because there's one in Durango and it's like a little bit of startup infrastructure. Those creative solutions are totally possible in this town if we kind of provide the right training and investment in our people.
Jim,
The question was opportunities.
what do you think the opportunities in our local economy are? And what are some of your ideas to support local businesses?
Perfect. Thank you. The number one thing I think would be to take advantage of our local resources. Anyone out there that has a question or wants to start a business should go see Beth at the Business Development Center. Absolutely take advantage of your local resources. These folks are there for you. You have to support local business. We need to support and engage and volunteer for these local community events, really being a part of the community. 2016, there was a Kellogg study that said to create a true cyclical economy, you need 1,000 people. We're really close, but we still need those folks. A true cyclical economy is 1,000 people, and you need 100 students in the school. That's what we need. And that's really the goal that we should all be setting for ourselves and for our community. Yeah, thank you.
Amy.
I agree with a lot of what everyone is saying here about economy and local businesses. I think an opportunity we have right here is housing, affordable housing, more housing. I know just looking on Facebook, I saw a ton of businesses looking for help, but they can't find any because one, it's either too expensive to live here, or two, there's no housing. So, I think if we get more affordable housing, more housing in general, it will eventually stimulate our economy because, like Jim said, we will have more people here. In order to support local businesses, maybe again, more engagement, more support, but how do we do that? I really loved all the events in the past years that brought the community together. I think it'd be really great one day to have a local business appreciation day where, just similar to the art walks that the Creative District have been doing, maybe it's an event at Kendall where you have local beer, local food, local artists, local musicians, local businesses who just want to have a booth to network and meet the community and kind of promote themselves to other locals and visitors. Other than that, I think myself, if I get elected, I'd love to, have check-ins with local businesses because I myself have never owned a business. I don't have that perspective that some business owners do. And I'm super open and willing to hear and listen to businesses' ideas and perspectives.
All right, we're moving to another 2-minute question. We're going to start with Justin. As a member of the Board of Trustees, how would you address the diverse needs of housing in town, from affordable to attainable to second home investment properties?
I think Silverton already stands with, a lot of what we have is already second homes for people that don't necessarily live here. So we've got to find a realistic number instead of, I feel like I'm repeating myself, that I just don't think that we can acquire a realistic number right now for what could be accepted as affordable housing, considering land, building costs, land availability. And what we have is really precious, and they know that. They sit on the land pretty well until they get what they want out of it. But that's a tough one. It's gonna be a lot of work to find an effective plan for the affordable housing and make it work for everybody. And the businesses, like she said, it's a matter of we can't have businesses without employees, but we can't afford to pay the employees what it costs to live in the housing here, if they can even find availability on it. So that's a long discussion. It's a lot of work to do.
Dana.
Yeah, I'm gonna hammer it again. I think housing is such a critical priority because it concerns everyone who lives here and everyone who wants to live here. To me, it's really about creating a variety of housing choices. So we talk a lot about affordability, but that isn't the only solution. We are not going to solve this if we just get a grant here and get a grant there and have the town build 4 units here and 2 new units there. That will not solve our housing crisis. We need a variety of options, and we really need to increase the supply of a variety of options. Now, I think it was pretty clear from the master planning process that folks in Silverton really like tiny homes and really didn't like McMansions. So maybe we don't need to increase the supply of McMansions, but I think we have a lot of options around affordable, market priced. And to me, that comes with sizing as well, right? If we can create more density, if we can use the code rewrite to create options for builders to be incentivized to build a smaller unit, maybe something on a single lot, that can allow smaller things to be built that then potentially could be more affordable. They're not affordable housing, but they are potentially less expensive because they're smaller. And so I think we need a variety of types, duplexes, apartments, seasonal, rentals, townhomes, single-family homes. And the town board has worked on this in a lot of ways. We've really been trying to chip at this with different grants we've pursued, different purchases, and also with the code rewrites. So that is why I think that very long document is really important, because it's going to shape what housing and building looks like into the future for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So types of housing is really important. Sizes of housing is really important. And staying authentic to the grit, the character, and the historic nature of our community, making sure that this still feels like the place that we want it to feel like, and it's felt like historically. And so having mixed types, mixed looks, but really staying true to our character. We're pretty gritty, we're pretty fun, and I think we have a lot of options.
Caitlin.
Yeah, so I actually don't think that there's a definite answer. I mean, we could talk about it for forever, and there's just, one option is having the existing structures renovated. And then, like she said, a variety of houses, building here, different structures as well. But then, like alternative stays, for, long-term rentals, but as well as short-term rentals, and then, ski in and ski out housing. That's just for the winter, but something that benefits the town. Incentive programs, I think, is really great. Federal housing programs, that's another one. And just doing restoration on existing structures. I think that's a really good idea.
Carl.
Yeah, well, I just want to start by saying I'm a renter. I don't own a home here in Silverton, and I just want to defeat the idea that because I'm a renter, or if you're a renter, you can't be dedicated to this community. I think there's a lot of people that are transient. They come for a season or maybe a year or two, and then they leave. And that's fine. They're part of Silverton too, but they're not dedicated for the long term. I think there are a lot of renters. There are a lot of renters who have been in this community for a long time, who plan to live the rest of their lives here and are either unable or unwilling to purchase a home. And I think that first off, we should acknowledge that having more rental availability is super important, and that needs to be affordable. I will also say though, for first-time home buyers, there's a lot of resources available, and the town's been doing a lot of great things in terms of making some of those more accessible to people, and we need to keep doing that work. Make sure that first-time home buyers know what options they have in terms of additional support they can get to make housing more affordable. So I think that's another piece of the communication role that we can really take on and lean into. And finally, on the historic character thing, which I'm glad Dana brought up, a lot of that is captured in that land use code. And we need to make sure that that is really documenting the type of town that we want to be creating, because part of making housing more affordable is going to be building new housing. We want to make sure that matches the character of town.
Ron.
Repeat that again, please.
Of course. As a member of the Board of Trustee, how would you address the diverse needs of housing in town, from affordable to attainable to even second home investment properties?
Well, we've discussed that most of the evening. It's a tough question. We've got to look at ways to make things affordable, and I think we should look possibly at apartments. We'll get more people in here. We should look at, as Dana said, smaller homes on smaller lots. I think we need to look at somebody maybe can write grants for us. I know we do some of that now, but I think we need to do that a little more aggressively. If we get after that, there's funds out there available We just need to find them and bring that money into town to help the housing shortage.
I think the current board and town staff has really done a great job of getting the ball rolling on affordable housing. I've been really, really impressed with all the work that was done before I joined the board and what we've accomplished since then. I think what we have in Anvil is a really great start for affordable housing, but as I see it, there is a huge gap for attainable housing in town. And I would love to see us use different economic levers or incentives to help fix that problem. I also think infill and density could be a key part of fixing the problem with attainable housing. And with rentals and second homes, I would also like to see incentives for maybe possibly turning second homes into rentals. I think we could probably dig up the money through grants, or we could look at different options, but I'd love to see some of these unused homes be offered as, you know, something for the people that are living here. Even if it's more of a shorter term basis. I just think we have such a big gap right now between affordable and attainable housing in town.
Lindsay.
Well, it's all in the master plan. There's a section in there about housing that provides solutions for affordable, for taking long-term rentals and incentivizing them into short-term rentals, for the code, which it just kind of came out last week, so everyone's still kind of working through it, but it has so many interesting pieces in there. In terms of like density and so anyway, we can get into it. I don't want to. But I think it's all in there. I think the one piece that I often find missing is that attainable housing. I mean, I'm a renter too. We live down at the end of Reese in that fourplex, which I freaking love, like, because of those walls, we don't pay that much in electricity because of heating. So would recommend living in a fourplex, gotta be honest. But we would love to buy a house, and there's like that one right next to us for sale. There's no way we're gonna be able to afford that thing and fix it up. So it's like this gap between, and I know that we have incredible folks in town, and Chase is doing an awesome job at getting kind of the affordable housing off the ground. So it's just executing that master plan.
Jim.
Thank you. Over the past 4 years, we've worked to encourage builders and the construction of homes. We've done this. We've streamlined the process of the building permitting process. We've eased and made it easier and created diverse housing options. And we've even looked into diversifying building materials to make it cheaper. We've eased the codes to encourage this. Silverton's cost to build is roughly 33% higher than it is to our neighbors to the south of Durango. It costs that much more to build up here. Investing in what we have, making it easier for developers, for home construction, for first timers to become a part of this community is paramount. And I think we've done that for the past 4 years, but our job is not done yet. And we have a ways to go. Thank you.
Amy.
I think when it comes to housing, executing the master plan and diving more into that land use code, fine tuning that. Again, I am a renter along with Carl and Lindsay. And my experience, I'm someone kind of in the middle where I work for town. I don't make a lot of money, but I didn't quite, make the AMI for the affordable housing, but I cannot by any means buy a house here today with the pricing. So I agree that there is a huge gap between affordable housing and attainable housing. And I do think, restoring some of the houses we have in town or incentivizing long-term rentals can help, along with diversifying the housing, fourplexes, duplexes, while keeping our character, Silverton.
Wayne.
I would like to think, what is that magic number of affordable and obtainable? I own a house here. I've owned it for 5 years. And I'm building a shop, and it is very expensive. And I'm doing a lot of the work myself and reaching out to people in the community to help me build this and to move forward, but it is not cheap. And and I have 4 lots as well that I would love to build a house on, a forever home. But it's, from what I understand, $350 to $450 a square foot to build. So there's no way that your average person can afford even 1,000 square foot house. You know, you're looking at $450, and you're not even moved in yet. You haven't paid for a water tap. You may have to pay $100K for a lot. And I think right now you need 2 lots to build on. So there's another 200. So now you're at 650. Is that obtainable? Is that, or, you know, I think a lot of y'all made some points of reaching out to the people that have these houses that have been dilapidated over the years, fix them up. You got a lot of great people here in town that have a lot of good skill sets that are probably you can reach out to and cut some costs there, instead of outsourcing it from Durango, Montrose Junction, wherever that case may be. So I think, and you can also share a lot. Y'all talked about using 1 lot or making a duplex or a 4-plex, split that cost with your neighbor, organization or whichever. So I think, there's things out there to help with the cost, but, it's a huge number that we have to overcome.
All right, last 2-minute question, and then we're gonna go into the 1-minute fire round. I'm gonna start with Dana. So this is a 2-minute. What is your opinion about the town of Silverton creating a wetland protection policy and creating a wetland moratorium?
This is a great question. You can listen to lots of town meetings if you'd like in-depth commentary on this. Let's start from the beginning. Wetlands are important. We all care about our environment that we live in. That's a common theme for most of us who live here. Wetlands are important. They serve a really critical function in our environment, and they're often irreplaceable. I think most of us would love to have more open space in town. We'd love to have more natural habitat. We'd like to protect more wetlands in town. The real debate we're having is whether we're going to tell our neighbors that they can't use their private property and whether we're going to ask a few citizens to donate their land to those open spaces. Or are we going to have an approach that compensates landowners in some way? My view of wetlands is that if they are a community priority, the community should help share the cost. We roll up our sleeves, we find funding, we find options for a lot of great important things. So if this is really a priority to us, then we need to find a way to pay for it. So the question to me is really, when it comes to a wetland protection program, how much is the company willing to protect? I think that the answer is probably some, but not all of wetlands in the community. And this is why I opposed a broad moratorium that stopped projects in town in low value areas. So I think when we're talking about a wetlands protection program, we have to really think through what are the top priorities? What areas are we actually talking about? And when we're talking about a broad moratorium, it's really like using a sledgehammer for this problem when we really need a chisel. And I think it creates more damage. We were just talking about housing. How do we incentivize more housing? I think that's making it easier to build the kinds of things we want to build. And so I think we can do better than we've previously doing. I still think we have a lot to agree on, but we need to decide an approach that makes sense for our natural environment around us and for our neighbors.
Caitlin.
Yes, so my view on wetlands is, I think that the wetlands are really great. And I think it's really great that we have them, but I also think that, if we need to do studies on them, then we should do studies on it. I think that we need the community input, actually. I think that we need to make an informed decision. I think that we need to find, I think that we need to come together and we need to decide as a community what needs to be done about them. If there is the wetlands, if we can build houses on them or whatnot. But I think that we need to come to a decision and move forward with the decision. And then we can start working on other priorities in town.
Carl.
It's important to just make the distinction that we're talking about non-jurisdictional wetlands, which is kind of a specific category of wetlands, which is not protected under other federal and state laws. They're important in terms of the ecosystem benefits that they provide, but they're not these big, super critical habitats. That being said, I do think that wetland protection is super important. I think that the stance that the town board has been going back and forth on seems to eventually be moving towards a little bit more of the middle way. And that's a process that I would like to be involved with, kind of finding that consensus, because I think we can't have it all one way or the other. I think that causes issues to go to the extremes. I also do think that some of the higher value wetlands in terms of the ecosystem benefits and the ecological value are also the hardest to develop on. So there's a little bit of the economics of that, which already drives more development towards those wetlands that have slightly less ecological value. I think that we need to be continuing to listen to what the scientists are saying in terms of the wetland studies and what is actually valuable to Silverton's environment. And then we need to find kind of try to chart that middle path.
Ron.
So you brought the wetlands up. I don't think you specified whether you're talking about a residential lot where the wetlands would be or out in an open space. So
What is your opinion about the town of Silverton creating a wetland protection policy and creating a wetland moratorium?
So with that said, we've done a lot of research on this. We've spent a lot of citizens' money studying this. Years ago, a man told me you don't build on two lots. You don't build on wetlands, you don't build on shale. And now we're looking at building on wetlands. I've seen some construction take place out here where near the wetlands. They have started construction that's altered the flow of the water. That's changed the whole dynamics of the area. It's tough because if you start to build on those areas, you're going to alter the water, you're going to lose some of the wetlands. You're probably going to make some other areas wet. I really don't have an answer for this. It takes a lot of research. Once you lose the wetlands, they're gone. This is a tough one. I knew this was going to be a question, and I don't have an answer. I've got a lot of questions that I need to ask, probably even the town attorney if I were elected to the board. There's just too many variables out there, and I really don't have an answer for you. That's the point.
Liv.
This has been talked about pretty extensively by the current town board. There are a lot of meetings where we have hours of sessions. I'm pretty much in accordance with Dana, where I think the ideal would be land banking. I'm for a reduced scope moratorium. I think a broad moratorium is not quite the tool that we'd like to use. And I would like to see the study finished out and have that kind of weigh into whatever decision the board makes. I think tiering wetlands is really important, protecting those of the most ecological value. And I think having a tiered regulatory program where land banking is the ideal, where we offer landowners money to purchase their land, and kind of moving down have different like tiers would be really ideal. Maybe, you have to, you're in wetlands. Maybe you can participate in another wetland restoration project, things like that. I think there are a lot of options to explore that are not, just taking someone's land or preventing your neighbor from building on their lot. And I don't think anyone on the board really wants to do that.
Yeah, it's funny, actually, Jim, I wish we were switched because what I was planning on saying is I just typically agree with you. So like whenever we're kind of listening to meetings, and so you could have just gone first and I've been like, I agree. But I tend to agree with Jim, usually when he speaks about wetlands. And what I want to add to that is that it's not necessarily about what we should do here. We don't even have a map yet, how we're going to cut it up. It's like this process that we've had as a community for over 20 months of someone putting letters in someone's mailbox and all of this false information and narrative going around. Like, what are we doing here? Didn't we like kind of figure out how to navigate these types of situations with the OHV rules? Like, how do we set up as a process, as a town board, where we can understand what do we need to make a decision? Studies, experts, whatever it is, have community input on that, and then make the decision. And then we're done in like 5 months, instead of dragging it on for this like 20-month long process. So it's less about what I think is going to happen and more how can we as a community and a board create a more efficient way for making a better decision.
Jim.
Thank you. I'm gonna take the full 2 minutes. What we recognized 2 years ago now was that we didn't have adequate language. We didn't have an adequate map to define or designate these areas of interest. Through community engagement, which we engaged at great length, we engaged and contracted with a third party of professionals and hired them to do the job because we didn't know what we didn't know. These studies take time, and the final result of studies will produce the language necessary, will produce the maps necessary, and will not only help our current board, but will help future boards and to set them up for success and have them the language to define these areas. And I've preached this for months and months. It's to protect the property owner, to protect the town of Silverton, but to protect these areas that need protection. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but we need to leave it to professionals and we need to trust them and allow the professionals to do the job. We need to stay the course and allow the process to work. That has been my stance on this the whole time. Thank you.
Amy. So for this issue, I think there's valid viewpoints and arguments for both sides of this situation. And while I tend not to agree with the broad moratorium, I think before making a final decision, we need to include a few things. One, I think we do need to re-engage the community a bit. It has been over 18 months, and I do remember lots of community engagement when it first came up. Since the past few meetings, I have not seen as much. So I do think, just as a new trustee member, I would want to re-engage the community on this specific issue with a workshop, separate from a town board meeting. Two, I do think now we will need to get the results back from that wetland study that hopefully will be able to be conducted in June. Since town is already paying for it, I think it'll help us come to a more defined conclusion on, if we want this passed and what that looks like. And then three, I also want to make sure we're supporting town staff. I know that, as a town board member, you're doing the gritty work and throughout the process, but once you pass a policy or give direction to staff, it's on them. And if the readiness is not there for everyone, I think we need to reevaluate priorities to see if this is something we need to do right now.
Wayne.
Well, as y'all probably know, there's wetlands all around Silverton, and you talked about housing and how do you grow when there's wetlands all around you? I think we need to continue doing more research, like Jim said, to get those maps, get those professionals on where we can build houses and how we can use that land and move forward. I think that's and without disturbing the wetlands too much, like Ron said, and it diverts the water somewhere else where that's a vital source of here and Durango is our water. So I think just doing the research and due diligence and just moving forward with that.
Justin.
I think the biggest issue there is it's an issue that has been trying to be advanced and been pushed for an answer, but it's hard to make that come up with that answer when you don't have all the information. And it's still not available yet, which doesn't make a lot of people happy. But if you don't have the information you make the wrong decision, what do you do then? You've got either economic or ecological damage that's been done. And there's no coming back from it. I also believe that, I've spoken with a few and there are people that are very passionate about the wetlands. I don't see why we couldn't spend some of the money that we've been spending elsewhere and these massive amounts of money to these other people for, doing the science, doing the studies, and take some of that money and train people that's what they're passionate in, and give them the opportunity to, really move forward with something that they want to do that could also be beneficial year round, because the wetlands aren't going away. Try and keep some of that home too. And it's kind of where I stand with that one.
Okay, we are halfway there. Does anybody need a restroom break?
Yes. Yes.
Kind of. Nope, let's take a quick break. Okay, so I did for you because in my mind, I'm always like, oh,
Yeah.
so it's like, who was first and who's your last speaker? So you know
Okay.
when to move on to the next one. And then here I put trustee and staff.
Oh,
But I had this trustees board of trustees.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, perfect. Thanks for noticing that.
yeah. I was like, oh God. And then we'll just fire these off run and then you give them all a closing.
Okay, perfect. My alarm was either getting louder or getting quiet. I'm so sorry.
But nobody really, there was only like a couple people that
Yeah.
never even needed it.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to test. I want to test my,
Yeah, and I tested mine, but,
Coming and going.
yeah,
Good night,
I.
101 fever.
yeah.
I'm trying really hard.
Cough droppers.
I,
I'm gonna do timer. Suggestion was giving you guys, now that we're just doing 1 minute, giving you a 5-second warning. So I'll just say 5. When I say 5, you're on the home stretch to 5-second warning. All right?
Caitlin, we'll start with you. What year-round opportunities do you see for the Kendall Mountain Recreation Area?
I think that a good option for Kendall Mountain is year round is an ice skating rink. You know, an ice skating rink. Sorry, I'm thinking. You know, improving and Kendall Mountain Lodge so we can use it in the winter or in the summer. We have to think about maybe they, in the summer, they could bring up their bikes on, bring up their bikes at the top of the mountain and do bike, ride their bikes up there, mountain biking. I think there's a lot of opportunity there for Kendall Mountain, and I'm done, and we're good.
Well, I think the most important thing at Kendall Mountain is the winter recreation and the lodge itself. Those are two core pieces. And I'm so bummed out that the ski lift isn't running right now. That really makes me a big frowny face every time I think about it. And especially as a teacher at the school, like I see the impact that has on our kids in the community, especially, and that's a bummer. So I think we really need to invest in whatever it is. I can't say I know the details, but whatever it takes to make sure that we can always have that ski lift operating in the wintertime and continue to bring people in to ski and provide that amenity for our local community as well. And then year round, I think events are awesome. We do a lot of events at Kendall Mountain, and I think we just need to continue focusing on that as a way that the town can both generate revenue, bring people to town, and just provide services for the community.
Okay. Ron?
Right now, I think we have a really good Parks and Rec director. She's moving in the right direction. Some of the events we could have skiing, biking, hiking, sledding, skating, hockey. As soon as we get the deck fixed out there, we could rent the venue out for more events. Right now, looks pretty poor. If we advertise, we'll get more people here, but I think we're lacking in advertising for a lot of things in this community, including the town itself. Shoulder seasons would be a little tough. It gets a little wet and sloppy around that. But I think if we would really concentrate on biking, the hiking, maybe get hockey tournaments going. I just think there's a multitude of uses for that area. And like I say, I think we have a good director in there now. I think she's gonna make things happen here.
Okay, I think that Kendall is a great community recreation center and like a congregating place. It's a great ski hill. I want to see it running a little bit more, but I think we can get there. And I love seeing events there, and I'd like to see more, whether it be markets or, foraging, hiking. I think there's a multitude of options that will keep Kendall as kind of a community center.
I think I'm gonna join the Sarah Ferdine fan club and make t-shirts for it because she's doing such a great job this year. I think there's two pieces there of making sure what we have is operational and functioning, and we can use it to its fullest extent. And then the other part is less about what and more about why. And Kendall is a really good place to build accessible recreation. I think that's actually one of the only hiking trails I could take my grandfather on. So how do we build in that type of accessible recreation in that specific area?
Jen?
Thank you. We need to continue to invest in the infrastructure and the building itself. Investing in the building is investing in our community. We need to focus on 4 seasons, not just 1, not 2, all 4 seasons. And most importantly, we need to showcase building itself. The building is incredible. The land is incredible. We need to showcase it and utilize it to its full potential.
Amy?
I think for Kendall, first and foremost, two things need to happen. You know, the lift needs to get fixed and that deck needs to get fixed. After that, I think, you know, for the winter, developing those ice skating rinks more, maybe making an ice skating trail where there's more inclusive recreation besides skiing. And then in the summer, you know, we have a great disc golf course right now, but I think, you know, it's booked every weekend for events, for weddings, and continuing with that. But also I'd love to see one day, if it's feasible or sustainable, to run the lift year round for people maybe with disabilities or who can't make it up there to access Kendall Mountain as well.
Yeah, I love Kendall Mountain. Every time there's an event there, I at least try to make an appearance and get involved in those events. Just like what the other candidates said, that maintenance is never going to go away. So you got to continue that maintenance, be it light bulbs, paint, varnish, whatever, the decking, and bring more summertime events or something there, or even create a putt-putt course for summertime. Because there's a lot of kids here that, and their mom doesn't really like to go out there and Jeep. They want to stay on the trails here and hike and bike and walk around town, and it's something for the kids to do. There's not a lot of events in the summertime that I've seen for kids to do. I like to see that area develop into something for kids more full-time.
Lots of great ideas. I think we really, if we can't find a way to really make the lift reliable, we need to come up with a viable contingency for other ways to get people up the mountain. I'm not sure. I don't have a whole lot of information on that one. The skating rink could also be done as like a rollerblading rink for summer. I love music, you know, a music festival, you know, I think would be great. It's a great piece of property, a lot of land to be utilized. The possibilities are endless for what we could do with Kendall Mountain for all 4 seasons of the year. Just have to find a way to, you know, get the ideas and put them into effect.
Thanks. I think we need to really think about what kind of investments we want to put in there. As Jim mentioned, the facility, we have a huge asset in that land, in that area. It's had a ton of community input throughout the years, whether it was the first rope tow to then the lift to the building. A lot of community support. So we need to think about what we need to invest in to keep that building sustainable and still working well. The lift running safely. I want to put a huge shout out to our facilities and parks team, to our mountain rescue, who's been very effective, unfortunately. But really for our staff that have good ideas there. And I think it's really empowering the staff to come up with kind of a prioritization plan for all of our assets. I have 2 words that I've been trying to advocate for: multi-purpose pavilion. So if we were able to have a covered structure, a concrete pad with a covered structure, we could have skating for a lot longer in the winter. And then we could use that covered facility for Hard Rock 100, for music events, for weddings, and use it more for revenue generating.
All right, Carl, let's start with you. It's another 1-minute question. What do you feel is the most important issue that should be addressed financially in the 2025 budget?
That's a difficult question. You know, I think that pretty much everybody at this table has been mentioning sustainability. I think that's super important. We need to make sure that we're you know, maintaining a budget that's going to sustain us into the future. And in terms of specific budget items, I just think it's making sure that we're setting up structures that allow us to make those investments that need to happen, and invest in infrastructure. So I'm not totally sure which portion of this would land in the 2025 budget, but for example, the wastewater treatment project, I think is a really good example of something that needs to happen. We're going to have to pay for a substantial portion of it, and we need to make sure that we're doing it sustainably.
Ron?
Tend to agree with Carl a little bit. The infrastructure to me is probably going to be the most expensive things we're going to be looking at. We've got the new sewer plant we're looking at. That's gonna be $18 million probably. Along with that, we need to, after we start the housing, we'll have to run new lines, water and sewer to those places. While that's going on, we need to replace the old existing lines. We need to do some of that, a little bit of that every year. That's expensive. It's not fun. Nobody likes to talk about it. But it's something we have to address. And the sooner we get to it, the better off we're gonna be, because some of these lines have been in here since, I believe, the 1900s.
I tend to agree with Carl and Ron. Infrastructure is going to be the biggest one, whether it is treatment plant, sewer lines, the power lines, getting that microgrid up, and also respecting all of the effort that staff has already put into these projects and making sure that we keep the ball rolling.
Lindsay? Yeah, also tend to agree. I'll go a little bit deeper into waste and specifically waste from tourism. I think one of the concerns we've always had with the budget is our taxpayers tend to pay for a majority of our waste, and usually the tourism accounts for most of our waste. So how do we address the discrepancies of most of that burden falling on locals instead of folks coming into town? So I think that there's a larger question here of like who actually pays for this.
Thank you. Redundancy, wastewater treatment, town infrastructure, the refuse fund, making it not only pay for itself, but making it so it doesn't hurt the pocketbooks of each and every one of Silverton citizens is very, very important. Thank you.
I echo everyone here when talking about infrastructure. It's going to be the most expensive. Wastewater treatment is going to cost so much money, and how can we get that in the budget and pay for it as we need to do something? But at the same time, you know, again, how do we respect the taxpayers as well and make it work for everyone?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Yes. What do you feel is the most important issue that should be addressed financially in the 2025 budget?
All of y'all make valid points, but I would like to think that where can we save money? You know, you talk a lot about spending money here, spending money there, but I would like to see when someone presents you with their budget and how exactly are we going to say, can we save money here to spend it over here for their wastewater treatment plant? Do we actually need a deck that costs X amount of dollars when maybe you can outsource it or get more locals involved in donating their time to save money on that project and any other project, you know, get several ideas and as a board, just work together to figure those ways to save money in different areas.
Justin?
Nailed it. I think we really need to find ways, not just well, definitely cutting costs everywhere we possibly can. You know, I've seen things that I consider frivolous costs that could be cut back on. And at the same time is finding ways to get more money in the community. And when we do that, we provide ourselves with more money to spend into the community. Reinvest into the infrastructure, you know, taking care of tourism, bringing more tourism in, making everybody else, you know, more comfortable here. It's a lot of money to spend coming up soon.
Dana?
So really, our budget document is our most important policy document we make. It's how we highlight what's important to us and where we're putting our priorities and our dollars. For me, infrastructure has been brought up multiple times. That's a given. I think housing, we have to continue to invest in the staff that can support housing and pursuing the housing opportunities that are coming along. I'd also like to highlight assets for locals, right? Infrastructure, wastewater, housing, those are basic needs. I also think we have a little ability to have some fun. And I think supporting what it means to have a vibrant community here in this town is really important. But at the core of all of this is staff. And so we have to continue to invest in high quality staff to sustain any of these great ideas we have. We can all have the greatest ideas here. We can have the best master plan, but if we don't invest in our staff to execute it, we will go nowhere and we will continue to have plans that just sit on the shelf.
I am actually gonna agree with Carl and most of you. I think I think the water treatment plant, I think the sewer plant. I really think that those are gonna be huge, huge this year. And I think that we need to come together and help figure out where we can get the budget for that.
All right, next question, Ron. Explain the role of a trustee or mayor on Silverton's Board of Trustees.
The role is to represent the townspeople. If I were elected, I work for the people here. I go out and see what they want, see what they need, and bring that to the meetings. I'm not here to have my own agenda. I'm here to work for these people. And it's my speech.
Yeah, I feel like we touched on this one earlier. My answer is pretty much the same. I think it's a public service position where you act as a servant to the public and make sure to bring their concerns and their thoughts and make sure they are represented.
We live in a representative democracy. Sometimes we have a little direct democracy in there. That's really e pluribus unum of many, one of many, and it's really about how can we represent the people in the town. I think there's legislative, there's kind of resolutions you put forth, there's facilitation as the actual job description. But at the end of the day, it's about how do you build an effective policy process to make sure that decision actually comes forward to this board that we can all agree on based on community input.
Thank you. Be true to the community, true to the thoughts and feelings that have been expressed to you by your friends and neighbors within the community. Listen, support the other trustees, support the mayor, support the staff. They're the ones that really do the work. And most importantly, execute. No long meetings, execute. Thank you.
I think as a trustee, we represent the community and not just a few people in the community, but the community as a whole. And making sure we, again, are listening, being open and ensuring we're supporting each other along with staff. I know that in the past years, there has been quite a bit of turnover with staff. We want to keep the staff we have because they're amazing right now and, do what we can to support them as well with policy processes, procedures, and anything we want to implement.
I think as a trustee, I mean, just like everyone else has said, support of the community and take those ideas and thoughts and represent the community on the board and come up with some great ideas to move forward.
So, being the gentle medium between the wants and needs and listening to everyone, finding out what all their wants and needs are, and being able to interpret what their wants and needs are to what we have available to make all of this happen. And delegate, as a group, delegate how we can make everything move forward reliably, responsibly.
I think everybody's talked a lot about listening to each other and listening to community. I think that's really important. I also think you elect us to be prepared, to be informed. We're the ones sitting in the seat, reading these board packets in depth. That's what you elect us to do, is to pay attention and to know what's going on, because not everybody here in the community has the time or the ability to do that. And so you have tasked us with that role to make sure we know what the issues are, what you care about, and what the details are of what's actually possible in local government. I also think that we need to have a level of respect for each other, because the tone that we set and how we treat each other on this board trickles down into how we treat each other in this community. And I think it's been really neat to see the level of respect, even when we disagree. There's just been huge civil dialogue and respect for each other on the board. And so I think we have that role. And then finally to find compromise, right? We're having to sit here and make a vote that affects our lives, your lives, and we have to find compromise with each other. And sometimes that means we have to give up on things, and sometimes that means we can get what we want.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Explain the role of a trustee or mayor on Silverton's Board of Trustees.
So I believe that it's really simple. I believe that the role of the trustee is to be a sounding board for the town, for everyone in the community. And I also believe that the role is to also be a positive role model. You have to be a positive role model, and you have to be, if you're going to represent the town, you have to be a positive person for that. And I think that that's what a role is.
The role of a trustee is to listen, collaborate, and serve. I think listening is super important, as we've from everybody. It's not about having an agenda that you're reflecting back, but it's about actually hearing what the community wants and needs. Collaborating means working together with the rest of the board and with the town staff and with every member of our community to make sure that we're coming to solutions that work for all or most of us, and that we're really thinking big picture. But I think the most important piece is to serve. And that just means that the trustees are responsible to this community, and we have to be willing to do the work. That means being informed, being prepared, and it just means showing up and continuing to show up and, taking on that responsibility of being somebody who really cares about this community and is going to take the extra time. It's not just about the meetings. It's about being a community member who knows what's going on, who has a finger on the pulse. And I think that's really important.
All right, Liv. 1 minute. What elements in the current code rewrite could affect future development positively or negatively?
It's a great question. I think density is a really big one. Dana mentioned earlier, single lot developments. Trying to build affordably in this town is exceptionally difficult. As someone that moved here in 2020, had just enough to maybe build or buy and barely pulled it off. There are just not a lot of options. And I think that we can use the code to create more options and even create more attainable housing.
They'll open on this first draft, which is a very interesting first draft after if you've watched a few of the meetings, you're like, where did they come up with this? But the open space requirements to me don't really make that much sense, as a lot of them have a large open space requirement, which goes to the density of housing. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the code and especially the rewrite. And I know that the committee who met this week is doing a really good job at kind of getting that up to date, but that's definitely a problem I see. I think the process we'll have is the good part of the code, and we'll get a really, really good place that will meet the needs of the majority of the community.
Thank you. I think we touched on this earlier. Easing restrictions, maximizing the usage of lot sizes, incentivizing home builders and individuals who want to reinvest in our community. That is paramount. Thanks.
I think a lot of people have touched on this. We're talking a lot about density. Looking at the first draft of the land use code, I do see some issues with that. As Lindsay touched upon, for R1 district, it seems that you can only build on 50% of your lot, which kind of contradicts the need for a little bit more density and more housing. So, maybe working through that, adjusting it a bit to allow for more builds for duplexes and triplexes. Positives I see, I like the zoning, like that there's a historical zoning that we're keeping some character in Silverton and, while developing as well.
I think there's a lot of good things that came out of the rewrite. I would like to see or just go to businesses and neighbors and see what their ideas are. Is it a setback on your property? That's keeping you from building a certain size home? Or maybe just a single lot? What are the setbacks on a single lot that you? Multiple houses on a single lot, more of a tiny home. And what zoning area can you build a tiny home in? So I like to see more research on the rezoning and yeah, so I think that's a good idea.
On the other hand, I don't really agree with the rewrite in a lot of areas. Now what you're doing is you're taking a piece of property and telling someone that they can do even less with it after the purchase. And you'd almost have to go to, zoning in for tiny homes on a single lot because that's about all you could get on it. Just, if somebody has a dream, this is what they want. This is, they've got a design for something they want to build. Now they have to dump so much more excessive amount of money into buying the land to accomplish that one dream. I think that it's going to run into, again, housing issue.
I think our current code, as folks who've been through it, shows that there are a lot of barriers to building the kinds of things we want to see built. And I've seen throughout this whole process, the master plan and housing, that the code is the tool we can use to try to help the private market build the kinds of things we want to see built and not build the kinds of things we don't want to see built. So that's the tool that we use. And so I think, as many people have spoken, ways that we can encourage density, especially in infill lots. I think another piece that's really important is protecting and preserving our historical character. And so as a town board member, as much as possible, we try to think about what are the unintended consequences? What does this look like as we develop it? Because we have a lot of infill lots. We have a lot of opportunities in this small square footprint to see growth and development. I just think we need to use the code to make sure it's done intentionally, and it's done with the kind of the community spirit in mind, and it's done in a way that aligns with how our community has grown over time. And so we need some creative ideas, but we really need to pay attention to details because that shapes what it looks like.
So I believe that the code rewrite, it's gonna be, there's a lot of challenges that come with that. We need a code that benefits the town, and we need to focus on the lots and the way that people can build out. And we need to focus on the actual challenges for people that want to build homes. Maybe it needs to be reevaluated. And I believe that we can talk about it and we can figure out other ways to reevaluate this, look at it.
Yeah, I don't have that much else to add. I just really like that the code includes a little bit more emphasis on multifamily developments and structures. And I like to see us continue to make sure that that's a possibility, and as much of town as is possible, while maintaining the character that we'd like to see. And I also just want to say that having a good land use code is a really important tool for the town to get things done. When we talk about cutting red tape, having really clear expectations laid out is super important. So I think that this process, although it might be a little bit painful, is really important, and we really want to get it right. So I think that we need to be a little bit patient with the process and keep making sure we get a really good land use code.
Ron?
I think the planning and housing people did a great job on the very first draft. It needs some more massaging to make it better, but it's just the first draft. It's going to streamline some of the processes we do for building and growth. And another thing is I think we're headed in the right direction by doing this. It lays out things in black and white. You can read them. We have a lot of rules and regulations here in town. It seems to me like a lot of them are being ignored. If we've got things written, it's easy for people to find. Hopefully we can get on track. And when we have rules and regulations on housing, it's a problem.
All right, last question, and then we'll give you a closing as well. This is 1 minute, Lindsay. What can you do as a trustee to support town staff?
I've actually thought about this a lot when I'm sitting at meetings and those uncomfortable chairs and they get us in the comfy chairs about doing like, I mean, this is a small thing, but like, what if we do just a big old party that's like, wow, they are putting in, so I hope they are putting in so much work here. So it's not just like, how do we support them in giving them very clear direction, which I've hoped tonight, hopefully tonight I've made it very, very clear that I want a very clear process for how we actually move forward and making decisions. So that will help alleviate some of that stress. I think they are, there's opportunities for professional development trainings. There's opportunities like we're sending folks over to Glenwood Springs this week to talk about affordable housing. Like there are so many other ways to support town staff. It's also just, you know, creating an effective process, so just appreciation in general, throwing a big party, make a big cake, all for it. But I think they put in a majority of the work in town to actually make this town run.
Jim?
Thank you. Listen to staff. Understand their wants, understand their needs. Is it equipment? Is it education? Is it us being more attentive, understanding and listening to staff, setting the goals and executing those goals. And knowing that they're just like us, Silvertonians.
Yeah, of course, when we're talking about supporting staff, being open, being there, you know, for them to discuss topics with us. Something specific I was thinking of is, you know, how can we support staff in the enforcement process of policies? I know that, especially when I passed one too, we go through this process in town board of passing it, and then sometimes, you know, it doesn't follow through. And how can we be supportive of staff to ensure that policies are being enforced and rules and regulations, you know, are in place, and just checking in and seeing what they need.
Well, I think, not to echo what everybody else says, but listening to anybody, seeing what their needs are, seeing what their concerns are, feeling or have them feel comfortable coming to you and have, if they do have an issue, even employee recognition. So, I mean, that goes a long ways to say, hey, that a boy, and send them on their way type thing. I think that speaks volumes of saying, hey, great job of removing the snow, great job of doing this. I don't think we hear enough of that at the moment. But I like to see more recognition of the town staff from the top to the bottom, you know?
Yeah. I would say, making yourself available to them. You know, if they have a need, be there. Don't lollygag, you know, make yourself readily available at all times. Be attentive. Be a part of what they're doing when you can. And then don't wait, you know, don't necessarily have to wait for them to call on you. Just show up, see how they're doing. See if there's anything you can do to help. You know, keep yourself as educated as possible in their process. And just be there.
You know?
I think first off, being prepared, right? As a town board, it's our job to pay attention, to engage with the issue and to do our own homework. Our staff are there as a resource, but at the same time, it's also our job to do our own homework and know what the issues are and know the details of it so that questioning doesn't fall on them. I think also listening to the recommendations, because even while we can be prepared, they're also in the weeds with all these issues that they prepare in that board packet for us. And so listening to their recommendations, because they've probably thought about this a lot. And then staying focused on priorities, right? The town board each year, we have a retreat, we set priorities, we try to align those with the master plan. And if we're waffling it's back to Lindsay's process, it's really unclear for staff. They're like, well, we thought we're moving in this way and now you want budget and time going this way. And then it's really hard to make progress on the big things that we've talked about today. So I think, and then a final piece was making sure they're resourced and equipped with what they need to do to get the job done. And we're a small town, so sometimes that takes trade-offs, that takes shifting things around and prioritizing.
I think that listening I think that Jim had it, when we have to listen, we have, like, if they come to us and they have problems, we need to listen to them. We need to be attentive to them. I think that it's really great to, for them to feel comfortable for them to do that. I think you have to be approachable. I think that it's really it's really important for you, for them to be able to come to you with any problems, any questions they have. And I think that that's a really big thing that you need to take in mind.
Earl?
Yeah, I think it's really important that we provide plenty of opportunities for professional development for our town staff. I think that we need to more or less grow our own with a lot of these important positions within our community. Because there's people that are already here that already really care. We need to make sure that they have opportunities. And I think that the town staff is one place where we can easily provide some more opportunities. I also just want to kind of copy what Dana said. I think it's really important that we provide the town staff a clear mandate on some of these difficult issues, because it is the responsibility of the board to be making determinations about some of these really tough topics. That doesn't mean that the answer is always going to be conclusive, but we need to be responsible for that decision making and not putting the burden on them to be, getting into these arguments with community members about certain things. We need to be able to take responsibility.
Ron?
The most important thing you can do is listen to the employees. Go talk to them, spend time with them. Ask, what can I do to help you make your job better, make you be successful? There's training that's out there, I'm sure, for most positions. There's courses they can take online. Just be available for the employees. I was fortunate enough that I had enough time to visit with several employees, and I was quite enlightened on what they told me. It was very educational for me. I learned a lot. And I think everybody should be able to spend time with the people, learn about their skills, learn about their inadequacies, and help them all be successful.
Listening, clear direction, and when iteration is necessary, iterating cleanly and clearly. In addition to COLA increases bare minimum, ideally more, and professional development.
All right, I'll give each one of you a closing for this evening, and we'll start with Jim.
Perfect. Thank you. Over the past 4 years, I've endeavored into community engagement, community reinvestment, growing opportunities for this community, while also understanding that sometimes doing what is right isn't always the most popular. We can learn from the past, we can learn and embrace the future. We have to hold on to our core beliefs while also understanding that we have differences. We all come from different walks of life. And that is one of the best things about our town, about our community, but about this board in representing each and every one of you. And in the next couple of weeks, I'd love your support so I can be up here and assist in the process for 4 more years. Thank you so much.
Amy?
So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to thank everyone for coming and participating tonight, listening to all of our viewpoints and ideas. I would be absolutely honored to become a town trustee member. I love this community. I interface with a lot of you guys daily, and I think that I would do an excellent job representing the community as a whole, being an open mind, being open to change, and, just supporting all of you guys in the best way I can. Thank you so much.
Wayne?
Well, as y'all probably know, I'm a man of few words. But I'm really like a sponge. I like to listen to people and take their ideas, and maybe I may not agree with your idea, but we can always come to an agreement. I have an open mind just like everyone else here. I like to move forward. I like to finish something and say, hey, we accomplished that as a whole, as a town. And I love moving forward with projects. And being tied to that project gives me just great pleasure to represent you guys. And I'd like to see y'all support as well. Thank you.
Well, I love listening to people. I have different points of views on a lot of things than obviously a lot of different people in town. But I'm always up to acknowledging if I'm wrong on something. And I love a good debate. If someone can educate me on something I wasn't aware of and give me a viable reason to change my mind on something. I also think that being that I have different ideals, I can also give different input and possibly a different angle and another resolution to an issue. And love to represent this town. I'd be honored.
Yeah. I see a lot of people out there and at this table who've been here a long time, who've been here a short time. And we all have big hopes and dreams for this community that we're part of. We all care. That's why we're here. That's what makes this a really vibrant community. My family loves this community. We call it our home. That's why we're here. Over the last 2 years, I think you all have told me in a variety of ways about the important work that we need to do and that needs to get done. And I would be really honored to have your vote to provide leadership to carry that work forward and to continue the important work that you've prioritized. I'll bring dedication and thoughtfulness to this role, and I would appreciate the honor to serve you. I think we can do it, we are doing it, and I'll continue to help carry it forward.
I'm really glad that I could represent you or I have an opportunity to represent you guys. And the rest of everybody in this community. I am really excited to get to know each and every one of you. I just want to do the best possible for this community. I really have a passion for that.
Earl?
Yeah, I know this job can be tough. I know it's not super glamorous to spend your free time reading through thick packets of legal documents. But I really love this community and I'm super excited to do the work. I think if there's anything that I can bring to this board, it's just dedication and a willingness to sit down and grapple with the issues. I know that really listening is tough and I'm ready for the challenge. So I hope to see you all around town and I appreciate your vote.
Ron?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out this evening. You've heard some thrilling questions and answers, and I know you've all enjoyed that. We have some very expensive projects coming up in the future. And it's my goal to keep the utility rates and taxes as affordable as possible for all people here. I've got time to spend with the town board, being retired, and I hope you'll take that into consideration when you vote. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out. This is like a pretty full room, which is really exciting. And I'd like to thank everyone who encouraged me to do this the first time and then do it again. It's again, really outside of my comfort zone, but I've been doing my best and would continue to do my best if reelected. I'm just honored that people think I would be good for this kind of position and really grateful for the kindness that's been shown to me in this community.
All right, 8:13, did it, team. Now you know what it feels like to sit through a town meeting. My first job out of school was actually going around and helping local governments transition to renewable energy. And I met a town councilor from Canandaigua, New York, 5 Points if you know where that is. And he said that he's never met someone with more enthusiasm and persistence. And that is exactly the attitude that I would want to bring to this role. And I believe I have the skills and experience in government, both in education and my current role right now, actually running federal and state policy for an organization, and helping execute the master plan, provide a process for effective government and preserve and protect this town, not only its historic beauty, but also its natural beauty. And so I appreciate your vote. 8:14, so good work.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for coming out this evening. And obviously, we can't really develop all the questions or all the questions that even come up. So there are other opportunities for the candidates, I think, over at the senior center. Well, also, ballots are gonna hit next week. If you're here and you haven't registered yet, you still have time to do that. Make sure your address is correct. And then, get these guys out on the street, ask them what maybe we didn't cover tonight. But it takes all of us really to come together, to come up with these questions. It was pretty obvious to us today what rose to the top of community concerns. And just look at all these amazing people coming up. We have a ballot. There have been years when we didn't have, an actual race. So this screams volumes for what these guys under Gloria Koshberger's direction. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful